Hi, welcome to my channel and to my review show. Today's guest is the KRISS Vector 22LR SBR. Now, this was introduced to the Canadian market several months ago at over $1,000. People was just jumping at it, but I refused to pay $1,000 for anything that's 22. So I held out, and a couple of months ago, it went on sale for $900. And I said, what the heck? So I went and bought it. And since then, it went on sale for $800. So today we're going to review whether it is worth anywhere between $800 and $900. Now, a year ago, I did a review on its bigger brother, the 9mm. And although I liked the unconventional design and the way they thought out of the box, although I had a couple of issues, serious issues, and that is the FCG, which they recommend are not disassemblable, and also I didn't like the fake suppressor that weighed a whole pound. There was a couple of other minor issues that everybody has experienced with it. So today we'll discuss comparison to what I recall the 9mm and to this, and maybe to also to other 22s. So stick around. I am back. Now let's take a look. And there it is. So this is what you're gonna get between $800 and $900. You'll get the rifle, a magazine that only holds 10 rounds, and a cable lock. And of course, a manual. Now, I read the manual very carefully, and it doesn't tell me whether I could dry fire it. So it kind of forced me to take a look at the bolt very closely, and I'm glad to report you can dry fire without damaging the chamber face. Okay. Now, let's get the specs out of the way. And the specs, this is an SBR, and it comes with an 8-inch barrel. It also comes in a 16 and a 6.5-inch. This is strictly 22. This weighed at 6.6 pounds or 3 kilograms. The length is, when it's folded, 26.5. When it's extended, 29.5. LOP is minimum 12.5. Maximum is 15.5. The average trigger weight is 4 pounds. Okay. So as you can see, generally the gun is made out of plastic, although there is actually quite a few steel inside. Okay, and that's the reason why it weighed close to 7 pounds. So let's start from the back and go to the front. Okay, starting off with the buttstock. I did mention when I reviewed the 9mm that I didn't like the M4 stock, and I still don't. I prefer the original foldable stock. But this one is different than the 9mm M4 stock. Whereby the 9mm, the butt plate actually removes, and you can have a little bit of storage in that one. This one, there's no storage, and there is a place where you can put your swivel, detachable swivel, QD swivel on both sides, and of course you can actually slip your sling into these two other spots. Okay, this extends out to about 3 inches and 6 different positions, and very simple to operate. You just press this lever like all M4 stock, and it goes into 6 different positions. This is actually made by KRISS Vector and not a knockoff. As you can see, it has KRISS Vector name on it, or KRISS name on it, and there is letters on that, DS150. Okay, let's move forward. on top there is a full unbreakable rail, and at this point I can't tell. It is removable, but it's a one-hole piece. Let me see if I know the. It is about close to 15 inches, and on top of that sits these two foldable sights, and they have KRISS Vector name on it, KRISS name on it. Unlike the 9mm where you press the button and it pops up, this one you have to actually pull up, okay, like that, and push down to lock. It snaps in, okay. Now, when you're talking about the rear sight, this knob here adjusts the windage, okay, and it has two different apertures. The bigger one is here, as you can tell, and the smaller one, all you have to do is flip it like that, okay, and then all the way to the back, okay. So now you're using the smaller aperture, and each of these aperture has a little notch, a tiny little notch on top or at the bottom, and you could adjust it by looking at where it is. If you look at it very carefully, that little notch at the bottom of the aperture it's kind of like a gauge, and you can line it up to those little to how far you're turning left and right. Right now it's set at center, okay, and that's a small aperture. So now if I want to move to the bigger aperture, all I have to do is flip it forward like that, and then I can adjust it to these lines here, these marks here, to the bottom of the aperture. Okay, so these are not cheap knockoffs. They're actually made by KRISS Vector, and the front sight is adjustable by the elevation by turning the whole front sight. Pretty solid. So they're nicely made. So generally, just looking from the outside, the quality of workmanship is actually excellent. So it's quite good. I can see it's really well made compared to the GSG. GSG is not as well made from the exterior anyway compared to this. Okay, below the rails and the sights is the selector or the safety switch, and if you see a red mark, that means fire, and if you move it up, if you see a white box but an X on it, it means you cannot, it's safe, you cannot fire. Okay. Now, then you have your cutlass shaped trigger guard. As I mentioned before, I don't see the point of having this front part. Okay, Mausers have a hump in the back, and then you can use your mittens. Okay, right now it's a little more, actually this area is quite large, you can actually use the mittens, but it would be better, more like the Tavor, if there's just hump on the bottom here. Now for some reason there is a space for some tool kits here, but the cover, I did not get the cover for some reason. But you can see it's meant for a cover, and on a 9mm it did come with the cover, but this one did not. I don't know why. Moving forward, now if you remember the 9mm, the bolt actually moved down. It was here and then it moved down. Well, this is a 22, so it doesn't actually go down, it actually moves back and then forward. So what is in this space here, this cavity? Actually there's nothing. It's just empty space right here, quite a large empty space. But they tried to maintain the look of the KRISS Vector. so I can understand why it's kind of left empty. But I am a little surprised that I didn't utilize the space as a storage. Okay, if you're not going to give me a cover, then at least make this into a storage. This space is probably 3 times bigger than that. I can put a toolkit in there. I can put some more ammo in there. You know, so this is great for survival gun. I could put extra ammo in there, but right now I can't put anything in there. The reason why I can't put anything in there, because I can actually see the recoil spring, and therefore you shouldn't be putting anything in there the way it's set up now. Okay, so in front of this void or cavity is the mag, is where the magazine go to. Now this magazine is proprietary. It's made by KRISS Vector, not like the 9mm, which uses a Glock magazine. And this is, it says it holds 10 rounds. It's single fed, single stack. So now we are saying that's disappointing, because in Canada there's no limit to the magazine how many rounds I can put in. So it's kind of disappointing to get a magazine but only 10 rounds. And the reason why for that, if I understand it correctly, is that KRISS Vector, the 6.5-inch barrel, is classified as a pistol. And pistol in Canada is a maximum 10 rounds. And this is also used by the KRISS Vector pistol. So therefore, they both share the same magazine, and because they're restricted 10 rounds, unfortunately we are restricted to also 10 rounds. They do come in 30-round magazine in the stateside, but I'm sure they're not allowed to sell that here because the pistol, I don't know even if they sell the pistol up here, but if they did, then I guess people will be using the 30-round in their pistol and therefore breaking the law. Okay, that's as far as I understand. That was my understanding. Okay, let's continue to move on. And as you can see, the uniqueness of the design, not just that the 9mm, the bolt turns down this way, it's also the barrel is in line with the trigger. Okay, quite often that's not the case. The conventional way is the barrel is above the trigger, which give rise to the muzzle. But in this case, the and to the KRISS Vector design is that the barrel is in line with the trigger, and the butt is higher than the barrel. So that is their design, and because of that, the bolt is actually down here, and when it ejects the casing, it actually ejects the casing more towards the up, and then this part, it's more like a deflector. It deflects it out. Okay, it more towards the top, and then this is the whole point of this, is it more like a deflector. Moving forward, also by the way, it disassembled easily with the removal of these 3 pins. Okay, and then you separate the lower from the upper. Now, moving forward, you have a rail here, handguard, 2 small Picatinny rail on the 6 and the 3, and one longer one, about 5-inch at the 6 o'clock. And then there's a tiny fake suppressor. Okay, that's generally covers. Oh no, let's go on the other side. And if you look on the other side, this, the magazine release and the BHO is exactly like the same as the 9mm. So that hasn't changed a bit. Also, the charging handle is the same also. I love the long charging handle, and the reason why they have this long foldable charging handle. Okay, it is at least 2.5 inches long. because it has a very short travel. It's like maybe 1.5 inches travel. Okay, and that's why you have to have a long. But nice thing about it, it folds. Okay, and so therefore, unfortunately, a lot of people have issues with the location of the mag release. Inadvertently, accidentally, you can actually hit that just by grabbing onto it like this, and it'll fall out, or accidentally hitting the BHO, and you release the bolt. So that covers the outside. Okay, I'm back. I separated the lower from the upper to show you how the mechanism work and what's the quality work inside. And let's take a look at the upper. As you know, they do not recommend touching the FCG, and the hammer is upside down. Okay, they do not recommend you pull the trigger while this hammer is towards the back. And the reason why is because if it swings forward, it's going to hit this ejection port deflector. So they do not want you to do that. Now, unlike this, looks to me as plastic. This deflector is like a plastic, but on the 9mm it's actually alloy. So I can understand that there's be not, a 22 won't eject as strong as a 9mm. So therefore, I can see where a plastic would be fine. They do not recommend you pull the trigger when the hammer is back, because you're going to end up damaging the ejection port deflector. So, but I'm going to do it just to show you what it looks like. Okay, you put the safety on fire, and then you put your finger on the hammer just to show you, and then I release it very gently, and now you see what the hammer looks like when it's in the forward position. Okay, and you can see it's actually touching the deflector. I'm just going to push it back very carefully and see it's reset. Okay, I'm going to put it on safe. Now the quality workmanship inside is quite good. It's really well made. Take a close look. There's nothing on this front part. There's just a big emptiness here. And the grip is also empty. It's supposed to be a cover, but no cover. Okay. Now, this is the guts of it. Now, I was a little surprised that the chassis is still made out of steel, which is a good thing. And that's the reason why it's weighed 3 kilograms or 6.6 pounds. This is the chassis. As you can see, still, the bulk of it is still made out of steel. This is where the weight came from. Alright, this is the bolt. This is the barrel block. This is alloy. And the biggest surprise is the thickness of the barrel. Now, I haven't disassembled it, but from what I can see here, it looks to me about ranging between 16 and 17 millimeter in diameter, which compared to the GSG of 13 millimeter, this is quite strong. Now, I don't know whether it's really needed to be that thick. It might be a little bit of overkill. They can certainly get down to, I was even happy with 13 millimeter on the GSG. So obviously, maybe 16, 17 millimeter is a bit much. But this is what the thickness of the barrel is. Okay. And here I want to show you, unlike the bigger brother 9 millimeter, where this bolt actually turns down and heads downwards. Okay, it goes down this one. I'm going to cock this to show you it just goes backwards. Okay, here it is. It travels very short. Okay, in this case maybe just 1.5 inches. That's it. That's it. That's all it travels. What I am a little surprised is the spring. It has one thin spring. That's all there is. Now remember, the GSG-16 has two, so I was a little surprised to see there's only one. And if you see back here is the firing pin right here, and the hammer swings down and hits it. And that's basically it. Now, I read the manual very carefully. When it comes to inserting your first round into the chamber, the manual recommends, here I'll load a dummy round to the magazine. Now I saw somebody on YouTube use the BHO catch to help load the first round. I think that's an unnecessary step because you can easily just put the first one in without touching the BHO catch. Okay, the manual says that to load the first round, this is what you should do. Okay, your bolters move forward. They want you to actually, before you even insert the magazine, they want you to cock the handle back. Okay, like that. Bring the bolt back, and then with your thumb, or I'm suggesting with your thumb, press the BHO like this, and then release the cocking charging handle with the bolt towards the back. Okay, I'm going to do that again. Okay, here, cocking handle, pull it to the back, and with your thumb engage the BHO. And now you can release the cocking handle. Now your bolt is towards the back. Now with your magazine, with a dummy round, now insert it into the gun, and to chamber your first round, they want you to press the BHO, release the bolt, and that's it. That's the way they want to do it. And as you can see, it is chambered properly. I wonder why they recommend this step rather than the traditional way. Let's see if I could do the traditional way, if it'll work. Pulling it back and releasing the cocking handle, and it also works. But there's a reason why they want you to, before you insert the magazine, they want you to have your bolt back. In any case, that's what the manual suggests. Oh, one more thing. Here there's the last cross pin. You pull that out, and it's just basically a cover. Okay, nothing else in there. And through that, you can actually see the recoil spring. So you shouldn't be putting anything in there that's loose, because it's going to end up hitting the recoil spring. Okay, so to answer the question, did it solve some of the issues that was in a 9mm? Yes. First of all, there is no hunky 1 pound of fake suppressor. It got rid of that. It did not resolve the issue of the FCG that's non-disassemblable. You cannot disassemble that. And of course, some people have issues with the mag catch when they grab here, which is very natural to grab, and you accidentally release the magazine. Or when you grab here, you accidentally release the bolt. That is an issue. I guess you can resolve that by training, but this is one of the major ones, one of the major two issues that I had. But But otherwise, I like this gun a lot better than 9mm. 6.6 pounds is where I would like this gun to be. It doesn't feel like a toy like the GSG-16. That's a little bit too light, and this one has fair amount of steel in here, and the barrel is actually, they can turn the barrel down a bit, because that looks like a 16, 17 millimeter diameter barrel. I haven't disassembled it yet, so I can't actually measure it yet, but I will once I do the full Monty on this one. But otherwise, yes, this gun is worth $800 to $900 in comparison to the GSG-16 that's coming out with a 9-inch barrel, and that is gonna be at $650 MSRP. But this is worth it. The quality workmanship is A+, and they have also gone to the more traditional back and forth rather than moving the barrel down, the bolt down. So yes, this is, I recommend this gun. Thank you very much for joining me, and please subscribe.